Welcome, listeners. Welcome to the podcast of the living zombie. The Night of the Living Dead fan cast, where we look at all the films that arose from Night of the Living Dead. This week, Zombie 3, following up from our review as Zombie 2. So, reminder for those of you who haven't tuned in earlier, the Zombie franchise is a creation that happened from in Europe. The Dawn of the Dead was often released in those markets as Zombie, and particularly there was like an Italian cut that I think Dario Argento edited together. And in that tradition, Lucio Fulci picked up the mantle and directed a Zombie 2 to Dawn of the Dead, which is a sequel to Night of the Living Dead. And from then, we end up getting Zombie 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8. We'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, the Zombie franchise is a bunch of Italian zombie movies from Zombie 2 onward, obviously. With the caveat that Dawn of the Dead, aka Zombie, was released as was edited for Italian markets. But yeah, the zombie films are all like standalone zombie movies that each operate very differently. This is one I think a lot of them aren't even like necessarily made as zombie films, but that comes later on. And by zombie films, I mean zombie with an I, the name of the franchise, not zombie. They have zombies in them.
Zombie!
For the most part, unless I'm forgetting something. Because this little so-called franchise goes in weird directions. So we had some of this film. We had sort of Lucio Fulci coming back for the sequel, but unfortunately, he quit filming. Quit the production of Zombie 2 definitely before any post-production. But there was also a lot of extra filming done. And at a point, Bruno Mattei, another Italian director who's somewhat infamous. He directs a bunch of Italian action movies, and I think he is responsible for the Italian Terminator 2. I'm gonna make sure about this real quick. Yeah, I think I can find it. Well, I'm just gonna look up Italian Terminator 2.
Should get you there.
Yep, yeah, he directed.
You'll find something.
He directed Italian Terminator 2, which was a knockoff Terminator sequel. Because in Italy, I don't know if you can still do that, but you were at least at one point able to just make knockoff sequels in Italy. There's one from Alien. There's one for Alien, definitely, which is also like borderline a Terminator sequel.
They just really like Terminator.
Yeah. Although that's directed by different people. So yeah, Zombie 3 was initially directed by Lucio Fulci, but Bruno Mattei took on a lot of the directing roles after that, along with some of that going to Claudio Fragasso, who is a co-writer on the screenplay, and is the lone credited screenwriter. They do not credit who they describe as the primary screenwriter, who is Claudio's wife, Rosella Drudy. But so Claudio Fragasso and Bruno Mattei do some filming of this movie, do some of the directing of this movie. I think Bruno Mattei probably has a lot of the post production done. Those who are experts in Italian directing styles will point out that this movie feels very much like a Bruno Mattei film, despite a lot of the marketing labeling this as a Lucio Fulci film. Mostly because Lucio Fulci is considered to have a better brand of quality, so a lot of the marketing credits him as the main director. But those who are experts in the styles of these people consider Lucio Fulci to be, or Bruno Mattei to be, primarily responsible for the aesthetic and feel of the film. It feels a lot more like a Bruno Mattei film, although it's set according to Bruno Mattei. He says that Fulci shot 60% of the film, which could be true, but I know according to like what I see, all the scenes with like the military guys in the hazmat suits, that's all Bruno Mattei shot. Basically the entire
Okay.
basically the entire beginning of the movie too. So a lot of people think that like it maybe feels like a lot that's maybe just him making a guess, cuz this film isn't like super well liked, but it's a lot of people, I like it quite a bit, frankly. I think there's actually a few different edits of this film, but I think the I think Shriek Show DVD, the version I watched, I thought was it's a very fast-paced film, which helps with the fact that none of it makes any fucking sense. Like, just frankly. Yeah, the zombies in this are not at all consistent. I think
that's one of my favorite parts of it.
you never know what you're gonna get. Like, you never know if like the next
You
zombie.
just don't know.
This is like a team up movie of like 6 different zombie movies. There's some of them that are like Night of the Living Dead zombies. There's a lot of them that are like Return of the Living Dead zombies. Some of these speak. Some of these feel magical. They rip off like entire plot points from. Some people say Dawn of the Dead. I didn't catch as much of that, but definitely. I mean, yeah, I guess it definitely rips off a major plot point from Return of the Living Dead. Like it just like utilizes it differently. Don't get me wrong. So I'm not like give it a docketing
Yeah,
points, but like there's definitely like a plot point that is like point for point mimicked from Return of the Living Dead.
I like the wrestling zombies. Those are my favorite.
Yeah. I kind of like these actually. Despite them being so inconsistent. They're very much
Uh,
like they're like ambush predators in this, where they're like some of them walk, like some of them stumble around, but a lot of them will like hide and then like jump out from like above a door or something, which is like their way of doing it, which I kind of like.
yeah, and I do love that, and I also love that like there's like the ones that are like super hangry for flesh.
Yeah.
But then I also like that there's the ones that just want a good tussle and they'll sit there and wrestle and try and choke you out instead of eating you. And it's like, what the?
No, yeah, they're charming
You
and
get all your bases covered.
yeah, they're very charming in their own way, really enough. Like the consistently, like the film is such fast paced that like it doesn't really bother you, really. And it's like silly, so you're not like, if you're taking this movie seriously, you're kind of doing it wrong, which I don't like as a version of like film critique. I don't like saying like, oh, turn your brain off, but like the movie is just obviously pretty dumb. Like there's no like part of that's probably the different directors, but definitely some it's just part of it's the different directors, but it is just kind of like it's a silly action movie, and I think it's probably the best action movie we reviewed on this. Like as far as like action goes.
Yeah, like because they actually do have some fight sequences that you
Yeah.
can tell were like choreographed out.
And Bruno Mattei is a action director a lot. Does a lot of action.
Ah, okay, that makes sense then. Yeah.
Yeah, and he would have done a lot of the action scenes. The main characters in this are a bunch of like on leave soldiers who just like are able to like do a lot of jumping around and shoot a bunch of stuff. And I think it adds up pretty well. It's cheesy, but I think it lends itself to being cheesy, which is something you kind of it's hard to turn on. Like you can tell the difference between a movie that you're not supposed to take seriously and a film that like you can't take seriously.
I tend to be a sucker for the ones that even if a film is like beyond gone bad, I almost sometimes get more enjoyment out of them just for the pure fact that I can look at it and just enjoy it for the fact that somebody conceived this and it exists in the world to watch.
Yeah, and obviously has nothing to do with like there's no connection at all to the previous 2 zombie films. And there's no connection to like any latter zombie films either. Like this again leads into like a separate apocalypse from like the originals. We never see any of these characters again. Yeah, so that's a bit of the background of it. But yeah, I think we'll get into the film. Yeah, Zombie 3. It opens with a guy in a tube. Why is the guy in the tube? Well, that's because he's a dead guy and they put him in the tube for safety reasons. Because they're going to infect this guy with a bioweapon by the name of Death 1, which, like, yeah, that's part of why you can't take this movie serious. Is like they never named something just like Death 1. And if they did, it would be like they do something fancier. Like it'd have to like reference like Greek mythology somehow or something. Like they don't just call things death. They can call things like a raven, Black Hawk. I don't. Yeah. Like there might be a weapon system called Hades. I don't know. But
That
yeah,
sounds familiar.
yeah, I heard it somewhere, or maybe it was a nickname for something. Yeah. So a couple of scientists inject this corpse with Death 1. It doesn't do anything at first, and they're a little concerned because, like, it worked on the animal subjects, but eventually, the guy starts becoming a zombie and breaks out of the tube and tries to like attack some people, but he doesn't get anywhere. I feel like I was told this guy is like this zombie is played by somebody. I don't know who. Like I am not remembering who they said it was. Yeah, there's no the cast list on. I can find this. Part of the problem with looking up Zombie 3 on the internet is because there's a Disney TV movies called Zombies now. So that interferes with my Google searches.
How dare they?
I can't find it. Anyway, moving on.
Look through the Disney crap if you want to find it out yourself.
No, I looked through the trivia. I figured it would be like the trivia on IMDb. Figured it would be there. Couldn't find it.
Probably.
Someone told me that, and I cannot remember what they said. Although I know a little later there is a cameo from two of the later directors, from Bruno Mattei and Fregasso. Freaking Italian names. There's a cameo a little later from Claudio Fregasso and Bruno Mattei. They're two of the soldiers that are like siphoning a zombie into a furnace later. But anyway, they get the two scientists get away from the zombie, who spits up blood and spews out into boils. The zombies in this are very boil based for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, as a result of this, the scientist, what's his name? Why did I just put my phone down, even though I need to immediately get it back to remember the name, because I forget names as soon as I put them down. Dr. Holder. Dr. Holder, the lead scientist on Death 1, calls up the military who's funding him and says, yeah, I have to give up research on Death 1. I have some concerns. Yeah, there's a lot of lines like that in this, where he's just like, yeah, no, I have some concerns about Death 1. I didn't know the risks about Death 1. And like, how? How did you not? Like,
y'all never explained to me the manual.
He literally says, like, you did not, he says to like the fucking military general guy, just like, you did not explain to me the risks when I started on Death 1. I'm like, okay, well, was it called Death 1 when you started? I assume not, but still, I gotta ask.
Should have been a red flag. When you were injecting shit into dead bodies, another red flag.
So, yeah, the military's just response to this and just says like, well, okay, whatever. We'll need to take like your research though. And he's like, yeah, sure, you can come pick it up. And that ends up going poorly for whatever reason. Because when the scientists go to hand off the remaining vial of Death 1 to the military, some guys in vans pull a van pull up and start shooting up the place and trying to steal the compound. I mean, why? I mean, I guess were these guys just going to steal whatever came out? The first thing was to come out of that base. Like, what was the plan here? Like, it doesn't. This is never explained. Frankly, it's just like some guy. There's some guys that want to take whatever's coming out of this military for them a base for themselves, for no known reason.
Other than they're straight up villains. They're
I
pirates. They don't need a method to their madness.
Yeah, I guess. Or are they like trying to like expose the government? Because maybe it should be exposed given their actions later in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a thing.
Maybe they got. There's a lot of plot ways their life can go. It's for however you want them to be. Build the lore which you want for them.
Yeah, because we never see them again. This, like, I think one of these, one of the guys in the gunman, he manages to get a hold of the briefcase with Death One in it, and manages to get away for a while, which of course causes like a military manhunt. Eventually, there's like a helicopter chasing him, and the briefcase gets shot, and this causes the canister of Death One to shatter and splatter onto the guy's hand. And he continues to fuck off. Okay, so there actually isn't like the death blow that you would initially think, given the scrutiny of all this, because apparently Death One dies when exposed to oxygen, which okay, that's fine, good. But the guy's been effective, so they're gonna have to track him down by any means necessary, which is a problem because this guy promptly goes to some hotel and just like pays like a couple like €100 bills or whatever. I don't know if they use euros in the 80s yet. I think so. I forget. But yeah, he hands over a bunch of €100. Wait, no, this is set in the Philippines. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. This movie's filmed in the Philippines and is like set there by the scriptwriters. So I don't know what is Filipino money. I don't know. Anyway, moving on.
I'm not the best at currency.
No, I don't know if it's dollars maybe, but anyway, moving on. He hands off a bunch of bills to the hotel guy who gets him a room, and he manages to hide out there for a while, which is bad because the military eventually finds out he's here, and the military gives the order to just kill everyone in the military base, this hotel, and then bury them all in mass grave after like burning the bodies. But that's just the outcome of this. In the meantime, we see the guy wandering through the holding up in his hotel room, trying to drink some water because he's now very sick. He notices his hands start to like swell up, so he does the rational thing and cuts his hand off with a giant fucking knife that he has lying around, like a kitchen knife, not like a yeah, he was an insurgent of some sort, so like he might have had like a combat knife, but no, this is clearly like a kitchen knife or something, or like a carpeting knife or something, and he uses that to cut off his hand, which doesn't stop the zombie virus because like green comes out of the severed hand, which is bad. Eventually, a butler comes to retrieve his like tray with water on it, which has a bunch of goop on it, which he doesn't want to touch. But unfortunately, the waiter drops the tray of water and breaks up the glass, ends up cutting himself with the glass, infecting him with the zombie virus. And then another waitress comes in to go check on him, and she ends up getting attacked by the zombie and shoved into a mirror and like eventually impaled into a door with that big knife he used to cut off his hand. So yeah, that's different. Yeah. At this point, the military has tracked him down and decided to kill everyone in the hotel. And apparently, and that would normally be the end of the story. It's horrendous, but yeah, it would have been a problem. But unfortunately, they decide to dispose of the zombies by shoving them into furnaces. Straight ripped off from Return of the Living Dead, which was actually, yeah. This movie's 88, that movie's 85, so it's just wild. It's like just wholly ripped off.
I had the whole like, wait a minute.
That's like in that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that the Michael Bay produced. And they like did the thing from Amazing Spider-Man. Is the Shredder and the Lizard from Amazing Spider-Man basically hooked up the same final act thing, like where they spread a bunch of gas throughout the city with like a big tower.
So it's a go-to, you know. They all the villains met at the same convention and they discussed this ahead of time. It was planned.
Evil Con.
I definitely feel like in this movie though,
Yeah.
they for some reason how they got rid of the bodies seemed a lot more like careless than the other ones. Like I feel like the other one was like, we just have to get rid of it, and they kind of burn it. Whereas this one, were they not warned or like? I'm trying to remember. Like, was there not at some point where the scientists were like, and they just said, "Nah, we're gonna do it anyways," and just threw them in?
No, they weren't warned, but they weren't told to do that either. The scientists, like as soon as they see as soon as they're burning the bodies, the scientist comes in and he's just like, "Who told you to burn the bodies? It could like spread it into the atmosphere."
That's
and
right.
whatnot.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
He does get So this was just like a bit of overzealous. Like that was just a bad decision they made. And at least in Return of the Living Dead, like that was just like some idiots doing it. Like it wasn't like it wasn't like
True.
it wasn't like the military doing it. I mean, not to say the military can't be idiots sometimes, but they're not supposed to be. And there is like a like the reputation is at least that they do this by the book. But yeah, they just do it without saying and without mentioning anything, and and eventually that's same deal. There's no rain, but yeah, the same basic principle is at play as in Return of the Living Dead. But yeah, this results in actually infecting a bunch of birds, which will end up spreading the virus. And this is where we're introduced to I think the Lucio Fulci part of the movie, which is weird because a lot of people still think this feels like Bruno Mattei stuff. Granted, it is edited by Bruno Mattei, so we can't discount that would have some if there were multiple shots, Bruno could have conceivably picked those shots that he liked the best, which wouldn't have been necessarily the same shots that Fulci chose. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that could have color the rest of the film toward Bruno Mattei's style. There's also some goofy bits that people don't necessarily associate with Lucio Fulci, but by all accounts are attributed to Fulci. Although Fulci does kind of condemn this movie a lot, largely because he just didn't complete it. Some say there's some evidence to say he did it because he got sick during filming, which might be true, but there's also a lot of saying there was some conflict with the producers, some conflict over the script, which he was apparently not allowed to touch by some accounts. But yeah, that's all there's a lot of conflicting accounts there and hearsay. It could also be some combination of them, and he got sick and that maybe made him less likely to continue arguing with it through like being sick. But anyway, but that's just the assumption under Lucio Fulci leaving. We're introduced to our our main characters at over the radio announcements by this guy called Blueheart, who is a radio DJ who is really cool. Actually, I like him. He's kind of cool. He's fun. Very environmentalist. He makes a bunch of talking about the ozone and whatnot, and concern about it. And he'll be a bunch of an outlet for a bunch of notices that are coming from the government as this goes on. But yeah, Blueheart's pretty cool. We meet our bunch of our survivors cast, or our not survivors cast, the people who will die throughout the course of the movie, and maybe two of these people will survive cast. We meet a couple who are driving just on the road, and he's the guy doesn't really like listening to Blueheart because just he doesn't like the climate change talk, and they have a bit of an argument about that when they eventually get swarmed by the zombie birds, who poke into the guy's cheek and infect him with zombie virus, and he'll spend the next several hours becoming a zombie before becoming a zombie later in the movie. We also cut to the bulk of the main cast, though, which is a tour bus, like a, I don't know, tour bus, or like not a tour bus. That sounds like they're a band, but not tour as in like
A
bands,
group
but
of friends on a vacation or
yeah,
something, or like a vacation tour. Yeah.
yeah, tourism, not on tour. Yeah, tourism van. It's a big bus, and they got like a bunch of two guys and a bunch of young ladies, who are like the young ladies who are flirting with a bunch of soldier guys who have like started driving behind them in their jeep. They start flirting. I'm actually shocked that there's no nudity in this scene. I like it is like I thought it was coming and it never ended up going off. Like it is like I was waiting for it. Like there's even a part where like one of the ladies starts like opening up the buttons on her blouse, and I'm like, okay, here we go. And then they just like cut off, like stop show, like cut to something else as she's like got like the top half of her buttons undone, uh, and then they don't ever bring it up again. She's not like not wearing anything later in the movie, but yeah, it was like I'm actually shocked that didn't happen. So yeah, they're chilling out. They're like flirting and whatnot until the bird swarm like just tackles the tour bus, and it actually only ends up infecting like one person, who gets like bitten all to hell. Yeah, this ends up pulling the bus to a stop, and the soldier guys, being like soldiers, go help them out, and like they're just like, oh yeah, I saw a hotel back there. We can go there and call for help. So they go do that. Turns out it's the hotel from earlier, which yeah, how does that make sense? Like, how is this place at all? Like, how are the doors not like sealed shut with like duct tape or whatever, or like with like security tape or whatever? So weird.
They had to burn the bodies. There's no time for that.
I guess. They all just left this place unattended. So yeah, they do that. The phone lines aren't working, so that eventually leads one of the girls and one of the soldiers to take the jeep and go find help. In the meantime, they find a giant crate of M16s in the fucking basement. Did the military leave those? Did the hotel have those? Was this where the insurgents were covered? It's never explained. You'd think that would also have been cleared out in like the zombie incident. Like no sense whatsoever. And there's also like a bit of a plot hole in this movie where like a lot of the characters seem to be like ready to like go into survivalist mode long before they figure out that like, oh yeah, we're in like apocalypse scenario right yet. They just seem to be jumping the gun a little bit, pun intended. But yeah, no, it's really, I mean, you move past it into the action pretty quick, which is why it's like not too bad, but still, it's weird. But yeah, they're tending to the one lady who got bit, and yeah, so yeah, that's a thing. Oh, yeah, okay. This I ran out of space in my notebook while I was doing this movie, so I got to switch to like some extra pages I ripped out of somewhere else.
The bonuses.
So we cut back to the couple. They've pulled over, and the girlfriend is going to go. Like she goes into this obviously abandoned gas station to go to look for help. Yeah, that's the only way I can describe that. It's an obviously abandoned gas station.
But there might be someone in there for help.
Yeah, I don't know if she like saw something, but it's just like the most obvious abandoned building ever. But she goes asking her, like shouting through this building, asking for help. when eventually she gets attacked by a zombie with a machete. So that's a bit of a skirmish. She ends up trying to like jump away from this person. Yeah, this is basically a big image of our wrestling zombies we were talking about earlier, because this thing has several opportunities to bite her, but she never gets scratched really. So they
They
end up,
just wrestle.
yeah,
They've been trained in judo and sumo wrestling and in
yep,
the arts of wrestling.
yeah. So they end up fighting each other, and eventually the girl ends up getting away. They knock over like the gas tanks, and end up blowing up the gas station accidentally, because apparently this abandoned gas station has gasoline in it still. Which I'm no expert, but I don't think that's how that works. Like I think when a gas station goes out of business, they like siphon out the gasoline, like just as a matter of like public safety, if not to like keep it from getting stolen or something.
We'd like to hope.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but I
We might be
think,
wrong.
yeah, but I would think, because like gasoline's expensive even in the like, I mean it's not like a meaningless commodity in the 80s. I get that there's still like maybe $1 a gallon is still like a distant like shuddering fear, but still. Yeah, so after the gas station explosion, yeah, the scientists are having a conversation with like having an argument with the military guys. The military guys are just going to do the same thing they were doing earlier, except they're going to just like kill a bunch larger area, because yeah, which is obviously deplorable. So the scientists are going to be saying, hey, we need to go create an antidote, which we think we could do. He's like, well, you better go do that then, but until then I'm gonna go do what I need to do, because I can't just like that could take you a while, and I'm not gonna gamble on that. The couple that went to go get help, they're driving for a while, and then their Jeep overheats on their engine. So they need to go get some water so they can throw it into the coolant thing. So they go do that. The girl goes to go check it out, goes to go look herself while checks out her car. She goes into some pond and ends up getting attacked by a zombie, and gets dragged in, causing a scream. So the soldier goes in to go save her. She's just getting like tossed in and out of the water, clearly by like some extra. It's silly looking, actually. So he jumps into the water, gets her, starts pulling her out, and then we see that her legs have been eaten off at the knee, like from a shark or something. And the lady has turned into a zombie, basically instantly, which is different. Yeah, she starts attacking him, and he tosses her back into water. And it turns out he's surrounded by a bunch of other zombies, and he ends up having to fight off a bunch of them. And he has a bunch, like chases them around. They're like jumping at him from like different angles. I kind of I like this scene quite a bit. It's a lot of fun to watch.
It is. It is a good little sequence.
Yeah, there's a lot of jumping around, fighting them through different levels. Eventually, this guy ends up finding the couple, and he hops into their car, and they go and they start driving. So yeah, these are interesting zombies. They're slow but jumpy, I think is a good way to describe them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrestling zombies. Then there's like the assassin zombies, the bitey zombies, then the mythical zombies.
So yeah, at this point we start getting some we cut back to the radio guy. He lists off a bunch of places where you can get help, and is like giving a bunch of like stay in your homes if you have any option. We start to see some of the army like moving through the area and killing some zombies. These zombies don't require headshots to kill. You just need to like kill them the rest of the way, I guess.
Just unload on them.
Yeah. Given what we're see described with the lady who from the tour bus, they kind of like these zombies are kind of like still alive, technically, or like they're restarted their motor functions anyway, and so you're just killing the thing again. Maybe it would come up again later if you left it long enough, but that's never explored in this movie. So yeah, that happens. It's starting to get dark, so the group at the motel decides to start taking up taking watch shifts before they've actually seen any other zombies. Really, so, there's a reason I was saying earlier they kind of like do all this like preemptively. Like they are in full on survivalist mode right now, despite like them not knowing what happened. Although the couple that went to go and help have been gone for like hours now, so that's a thing. Some of the motel crew go looking for food, so they go to explore the kitchen, where they open up a fridge door and a severed zombie head jumps out at them, which was kind of cool looking. I don't see the wires. I watched this scene twice and didn't see any of the wires in it, so they did a good job with it actually.
Very things got some mad skills and hops. It was tactical in its assault.
How it does this, I have no idea, because it's just a severed head. That was just left. I supposedly that the military guys just missed this, which how that worked. It's also very much like a skull. There's not there's like bloody flesh around it, but it's a skull. Apparently, this is attributed to Fulci, which, despite it being a little silly, but yeah, this seems like a scene that would be perfectly at home in like Return of the Living Dead, more than this is very much a grab bag of all different zombie franchises. I give this movie like it's kind of like Return of the Living Dead if the zombies actually died, if the zombies weren't like invincible. Like it's kind of got that
True.
vibe. Yeah. Which turns out pretty good. It's nice. I kind of like it. It's not unenjoyable, especially if you found like Return of the Living Dead was like too heavy for you. This might be okay. It's less of a comedy, granted, but it's a soft zombie movie, which is kind of nice. So yeah, that happens. It kills a couple people. We cut back to the couple and the army guy in that convertible, and they're hearing some radio, and he's just like, and the boyfriend's just like, where are we going? And he's just like, well, we're getting you to a hospital. And he's like, I don't know if I need a hospital. I'm just a little thirsty for your blood. And then jumps at his girlfriend. And that's the first instance of like a talking zombie we see.
Yes.
It's a really silly scene. It calls like a car crash on like a bridge. Yeah. This does just get that one guy that we followed for a little bit killed.
True.
Which was weird because like he got a little bit of a idea that like he'd be like a main thing. But anyway, the girl, Patricia, she decides to get away from her boyfriend and also the several other zombies that are on this bridge by like jumping off a bridge to go make an escape. She eventually arrives at the motel a little later because she had the army guy had mentioned that they had some people holding up there. During that period, though, the girl who had been bitten by the birds has fully converted into a zombie and has just started like standing over one of the other girls, just like Casey, Casey, and then starts eating her, and that's a whole thing. So yeah, that's a pretty neat scene. This is very cheesy. These are very cheesy, but somewhat effective zombies. I don't know. We see that more zombies are coming to the motel, and it's becoming a big. They're getting like a big bad situation here. One they create some motel crew creates some barricades. One of the soldiers picks up a flamethrower, which is apparently something that was with the M16s, and he sets out some zombies on fire. Yeah, no, it's just like they just handed these guys like an action movie inventory. Like, I'm not surprised if that wasn't just written on the side of the box. Just like a bunch of
drop it in for him.
Yep. Like it's like just out of like a zombies video, like a Call of Duty zombies match. It's just super weird.
Basically, it's like, yep, care package awaits.
Yep, here's your box full of M16s and a flamethrower. They end up having to fight through these things, and they end up having to trudge through the forest until morning, where they end up getting ambushed by a bunch of the army guys. The last of the two guys from the from the tour bus are killed by the army, leaving about 5 people left. Mostly the 2 army guys, Patricia, and 2 of the girls from the tour bus. We cut back. We get some more scenes with the general and the scientist, who's being somewhat reasonable about the cure, but he's just obviously like just gonna let all these guys killed. This starts going south as like the military starts to close in on our main cast of characters and start chasing them down because they were ordered to kill everything that moves. Eventually, they find a helicopter that's been sorted down. There's also a line drop from the scientist that says, "One good rain could start this all again," and that they're going to basically need to Yeah, just another reference to Return of the Living Dead, and that essentially, even if they get the antidote ready, they're going to essentially have to vaccinate the entire population of the Philippines, I guess. So yeah, we see a bunch of we fight through a bit more of scenes. They find some of the girls hear a woman screaming who is pregnant. So they find a pregnant woman in this, I guess, clinic where they had tried to hold up, and they try to deliver this pregnant woman's baby. Turns out the baby is a zombie. I was just talking to Cody in the last review about how I've watched 3 movies with zombie babies and or zombie fetuses.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
that's a lot.
yeah, right? Like like that's I've seen it there's one in Blood Quantum, one in the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead, which I did for with Cody for the last episode. And yeah, so that's 3 now I've seen. This isn't as disturbing as the one in Blood Quantum. I'd say this is probably the it's between this and the Dawn of the Dead one, depending on what one is less horrific. I think you could like argue either way, but Patricia's boyfriend shows back up at the clinic somehow. It's wandered all its way over here. No idea how. Maybe this is the hospital they had mentioned they were going to. That could be it. That's maybe an explanation.
They were heading towards, yeah.
Yeah. Couple of the army guys end up like coming into contact with a bunch of the military guys who are in like hazmat suits. They end up having a standoff, try to negotiate, but that ends up getting into a fight between them. Our 2 heroes end up winning the fight. They find Nancy, the remaining girl from the tour bus, and they manage to get away because Patricia's been killed by the zombie woman. Or no, Patricia. I lose track. There's so many characters and I barely understand them.
Yes, there's a ton in this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure who all makes it out. At this point, everyone starts running out of ammo. They set up They end up blowing up with the one grenade they have of like blowing up they find a grenade underneath a pickup truck.
Yes.
And end up using the grenade to destroy an entire house. And at this point, they find that helicopter that from the military guys. The remaining soldiers go line it up. Apparently, they know how to fly a helicopter. They end up fighting off some zombies, but unfortunately, only one of the soldier guys isn't able to make it because he starts taking off because the one piloting the helicopter starts taking off. The other army guy has to like jump up and grab the thing, but unfortunately all the zombies have showed up and started like pulling him down, and he ends up getting into like a crowd of zombies, which he manages to pull himself out of, but he's all bloodied and eaten when he's confronted with a bunch more of the military, and he's just like, no, don't shoot, and then they shoot him. Yeah. And at that we get our final scene with Blueheart, who just says like, now this is the new world order. We are now all zombies. And it's revealed that Blueheart is a zombie now too, and is speaking for the living dead, and says it is now year 0. and the remaining army guy and the remaining, I think it's Nancy from the tour bus, are left, and they are listening to this over the radio on a helicopter, and it's just like, oh no, what'll we do? And the army guy's just like, we'll fight to win or else. And that's the end of the movie. And we never see these people again.
The Last Stand.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's.
They never
Yeah,
do get to revisit it. We never get to see his glory, do we?
no, Zombie 4 is something completely different. By all accounts. Yeah, it keeps it keeps a fast enough pace that you don't notice the problems with it, but it's clear, like it's not at all a consistent film.
Yeah, that's a way. That's a good way to put it.
There are other films that actually claim the name of Zombie 3 that are less official. This one's like the official follow-up to Zombie 2. Though internationally there's like an Andrea Bianchi burial film called Burial Ground, which was released in some markets as Zombie 3 Nights of Terror. And there's also a film called Return of the Zombies, which was also released as Zombie 3, which has a lot of different names, actually. It's also credited as like Beyond the Living Dead, Bracula, Terror of the Living Dead, Hanging Woman for the US release. Its original title, however, is La Orgia de la Mortes, translated as The Orgy of the Dead. This is actually
Wonderful.
those are actually earlier films. That film is by Jose Luis Moreno. So those are actually later films. We might touch upon those at some point in the distant future. We're gonna go through like the official stuff later on, but first, so that all gets priority. Because like next year it'll be like Army of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, Zombie 4, and Return of the Living Dead Part 3.
That's a pretty good lineup.
Yeah, but next one we got to do is Return of the Living Dead. But yeah, we'll get to that soon. But yeah, in the meantime, what do you what do you think? Closing thoughts on this one?
Closing thoughts on this one. I really agree with what you said, in that I don't know if it's maybe, I don't know how the best way to word it. Maybe the best executed of the films we've watched, in terms of like like a proper zombie thought out lore and plot. But overall, I enjoyed its little hiccups here and there, and I thought like the action sequences were pretty good, and even if like the zombies weren't consistent, I kind of find that funny. And almost entertaining. So I'd say maybe entertaining is the proper word for this one. It was fairly entertaining, even though there was definitely some holes amongst the film here and there.
Yeah. What do you give the movie?
I'm trying to remember what I gave the other one. I feel like this one's maybe like a still around that 7.5 range. I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely not an 8.
No, yeah, it's got too many plot holes to like go into, like, because when you get into 8 territory,
Yes.
you got to be into like actually good films. Like I'd give
Yes.
this, I'm giving this like probably a soft 7, just because I did enjoy it a fair bit.
I think that's probably the way to go. Enjoyment level was there, but
no, it's like not at all a consistent film, and like you can't like call it like a literal good movie, right? But it's fun. It's lots of fun. And I'd recommend it.
Yep.
It's kind of on its own. I think this would be like an okay maybe double bill with Return of the Living Dead. Just like put them right next to each other, because they do have like I think that would be a nice little double bill. That's been a lot of a lot of talk I've done of this, of like a lot of films that we should like double bill together.
True.
But yeah, we'll see you guys soon for Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Curtis, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me over on YouTube at the Just Playing Universe, where we got all sorts of shenanigans happening. I'm on Facebook as well at the Just Playing Universe. That's the two main places to get a hold of what we're doing.
Yeah, and you can follow the podcast at Kyle and Cody's Called CinemaCast on Facebook and on YouTube. And yeah, we'll get back to this soon, hopefully. Sorry for the delays. We just got like I think
Ye-
there was like a solid 2 weeks where like I was sick and then he was sick, and then there was like a bunch of other stuff getting in the way.
And October just
Yeah,
disappeared.
yeah,
It was just wiped off the map of the earth, and I'm like, what the hell? It's in the middle of November.
right.
Gone.
Yeah, no. Hopefully, I'll have I got a regular episode of the regular podcast coming out before this, but yeah, we're trying not to keep you guys alone too long. But I think there's gonna be like if things work out, there might be a lot of content in November here. So yeah,
Nice. Yeah, that'll be good.
see you guys soon, hopefully.